All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parrish, and I'm here once again with my buddy through the miracle of computer phone. I'm here with Dave DeFore. Dave, how are you?
Fantastic.
Good.
Great. I'm great. Yeah, life is really good.
I'm also here with Dorothy the cat, who is circling beneath my feet like a shark under a USS Indianapolis as it goes down.
The cat actually didn't show up until you started the podcast.
I know. No joke, there's things that make this cat come running. If we open the front door, cat comes running. Last night we ran the self-clean on our oven, which I don't know this technology. Apparently, it just heats it up really high. It just heats it up really high and burns off everything. So we're like, hey, let's run the self-clean. It's Thanksgiving week. We're hosting people. Like my brother's family is going to stay here. We've been cleaning and all this stuff. But we're going to cook. Let's run the self-clean. We don't ever do that very often. Yeah. And we knew it would it makes the house stink because it's just burning stuff and the kitchen gets real hot. So we cracked the window. This window is it's like 10 feet off the ground if you're on the outside. We just cracked the window, and the cat, this is like her escape. She's like, I can get my head through there.
So door and the window, there's a theme here. Does your cat feel like it's...
Cat tries to get out. Yeah, cat is imprisoned. The back door, she's not into it. I can leave the back.
Have you ever thought about building a catio?
I've seen some of these. I don't build things, first of all. But yeah, we could screen in our deck, maybe make that a thing that happens. Yeah. But right now the cat doesn't run out the back door. But however, the cat comes running if we open the front door. She did not come running. I don't think she knew the sound of the window opening, but eventually she kind of got out there where she'd squeezed out. And then we had to all right, I guess we got to shut this window and got her back in. But the other thing that makes the cat come running is me doing my podcast voice.
It's true.
When I start sports yelling, the cat's like, "Oh, is it time to record?"
We were just chatting.
Yeah, let's do this.
And then as soon as you did, all right, the cat was up in your face.
It's amazing. And I don't know what these wires are here when I'm not here, but the cat is they don't exist to her until I'm talking. Until I talk into the microphone, she's like, "What if I jump on that soundboard right now?" And it's wild. But anyway, Dorothy the cat is here. So hopefully that means it's a good show. Dave, I'm wearing all black. I'm in show black. I'm in stagehand. If you're on YouTube, you can't even see the microphone. So I'm the black cover against my black shirt. I already played a show this morning. Did a 9 a.m. Little kids
gig.
Little gig. Yeah. So it was me and a bass player.
Oh, okay.
I was like, "Hey, what are you wearing?" And he's like, "I'm just gonna wear all black." I'm like, "Great." And I wear the same thing every day, basically.
Yeah.
I wear pants and a long sleeve t-shirt, solid color. And that day I was wearing something like orange pants, gray t-shirt.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm going to wear this, but just in all black. He's like, great.
Dressed like Shaggy?
A little bit. It's okay. Yeah, not too bad. By the way, my son, my 10-year-old son, his hair's kind of long and he's wearing a shirt we bought him. It's just a little bit big.
Yeah.
And this is judgmental of me. He was just his hair was so messed up and he seemed so sleepy. And the thing in my head that I said, I was like, boy, you look like a stoner. But then I was like, is that, he doesn't know what that means. And then I was like, oh, why would I even say to it? And also who cares?
I mean, what kind of rabbit hole would that send him? What's
yeah. And then let's send him to military academy. And he's like, he's like, have you looked in the looked in the mirror, old man? He could have thrown it back at me. But anyways, no, the bass player, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wear this all black. So I show up to the gig. He's wearing all black, but I'm wearing a black t-shirt, like a stagehand at long sleeve. I'm wearing black sneakers, all black.
Please tell me he's got a full black suit.
Yeah. He's got a black tie.
Did he wear a vest?
He didn't wear a vest, but it was a black shirt. He wore wore nice black boots. So we're doing the same thing tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm wearing my black boots, and I probably wear a black button up.
What kind of boots? Chelsea boots.
I don't even know what kind of boots I have. Just like cowboy boots, just black cowboy boots.
Oh, cowboy boots. Yeah, not like a Doc Martin.
No.
Okay.
He wore
All right.
very. Mine are more. Mine are going to look bad next to his because his were so pristine.
Oh,
But at least we'll both be wearing black
does your
cowboy
kid
boots.
know how to shine shoes yet?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it'd be a great life lesson,
What
right?
a great skill for
Look, why why
the coming
yeah,
Dust Bowl to teach
yeah.
my child shoe shining. That's what the rich people are going to want.
That's
Um,
you know, the
so yeah,
skill. Yeah.
I'm gonna do another show tomorrow. But anyways, yeah, I'm in show black. I'm carrying it over for this performance right here. I hope I do as good at this second gig as I did at my real gig. Do you
Yeah,
have
it
what's your show dress, Dave? When you're ready for a big moment,
podcast wise or just life?
anything.
I don't know. Right, today I'm wearing,
Oh,
nice Georgia
representing
sweater.
Team
Yeah, these
Georgia.
guys,
I
yeah,
like
these
that.
guys had a great weekend. Picked up 2 wins over Finland in Eurobasket qualifying. So,
Oh, very nice.
yeah, it was nice. But show dress, like what you know, I've been having this conversation lately because I
Yeah,
work from home.
yeah.
I wear a lot of I've got like Godzilla t-shirts,
Okay,
and then I wear basically plain stuff like long sleeves when
yeah.
I go out. Yeah. But there's nothing to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe think about it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Start dressing up. Make it your thing. This is how I dress up
Yeah,
for
yeah, make
podcasts.
it my thing. Yeah.
Anyways, this morning for breakfast, black coffee before the show.
Nice.
After the show, came home, grabbed some leftover. This was left in a bowl. I'm guessing my son. He doesn't put milk on his cereal, so I didn't have any problem with grabbing just the dry leftover chocolate checks, which
Ooh.
honestly they're kind of great. Turns out
Yeah,
maybe
they're in like a
this can go
section. Yeah.
high up on the cereal power poll, the
Yeah.
controversial cereal power poll. We didn't want to do it. We were
We didn't.
asked to do it
We
by a
didn't.
Patreon supporter. It's so tired ranking cereals. Apparently, people were shocked that we both
But
were
yet no
fine with
one
grape nuts.
sent us their rankings. See, this
No,
is,
yeah,
please make your own list for us to critique.
yeah. So what you have for breakfast?
Oh, the standard
Pumpkin oatmeal.
pumpkin oatmeal,
All
cold
right.
brew.
Well, there's our breakfast. It hasn't been that much variety of
We
late,
actually just we
but
just spliced
after
this in from
yeah,
last week.
after breakfast, let's go ahead and move on. After our breakfast, we move to our breakfast in bed apologies. This is my chance to make right what I might have gotten wrong in a previous episode. It's frequently the first time we talk about the NBA, which it will be this show. Unfortunately, no factual errors last show.
Wow.
I hate that for us. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to pull from. I could.
It was a vibey show, though.
I mean,
right? Like it wasn't a lot of facts and information.
It was, yeah, you're right. There was a feel to it. Maybe
Yeah.
I left out Frosted Flakes when we're talking about major cereals. I feel like Frosted
Yeah.
Flakes is a major cereal.
Did we do corn pops? Did we say
We
that?
did talk about corn pops.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Frosted Flakes, if we were naming the tiers,
It's up
I
there.
think that would be that big one where all the teams that are pretty good. And maybe they think they're great.
Great tier?
No, it's teams that think they're great.
Okay.
But they're just good. Let's be real. You're not as good as Cinnamon Toast Crunch, despite what you might think. So yeah,
I still don't get that.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I don't know. I like cinnamon.
Cinnamon sugar together, they're great. Who knew? We did have some submissions from our Patreon supporters. One of the funniest ones to me was just like changing up breakfast themes. We've always done this.
Oh yeah.
Like for years I've had the steak and eggs best thing, the cream of wheat. Of course, some people like cream of wheat. I don't.
Wheat, yeah.
I think something went wrong with your day if you ended up with cream of wheat. But then
it's not grits,
One of our overseas patrons was like mediocre. He was like ranking his tiers of breakfast. He's like cafe au lait and a croissant. That's like medium. And I'm like, that's a good day.
That's a good one.
In America, that's a fancy breakfast. And I was like, that's just mid-tier for him. So
I like that. Well, I mean, that is you'd be surprised just how like readily available better stuff is.
Good breakfasts are
outside of this country.
Yeah, the breakfast they brought me in St. Kitts. Wow.
Yeah.
So much good stuff. Anyways, I guess we could apologize for opinions, but I don't like to do that. Like,
no,
maybe
I'm not doing that.
All right. So the Milwaukee Bucks won some games. Good for you. La-di-da. You beat some teams at home. saved your season.
Beat some real teams.
They did actually beat a couple of real teams, but
I
they were
know
down
they
to the
did.
wire.
But
I mean,
yeah, but
like
beat some more. Okay, I
coin
haven't
flip
seen enough.
games. Should they beat the Rockets? I'm impressed by that.
Yeah.
Giannis basically went Shaq mode last week.
That's basically been the season.
He's just so
This
dominant.
is yeah. And honestly, it really drives me nuts
In what way?
in hindsight to have gone away from Drew Holiday in favor of Damian Lillard when you have this monster. Like ah, mm. Defense is just undervalued.
Yeah, they had to move on. Here, they didn't need Drew
I'm still
Holiday. They
stuck
they
on it.
needed some kind of win now player or
Yeah,
something. I'm making fun
right.
of him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Drew Holiday's better than Damian Lillard.
But
That's right.
Giannis, people are already starting to talk MVP, which I think at this point we're good. Jokic, his numbers, I think he's probably the front runner, but Giannis has to
Second
be
in
like right
assists
behind
per
him,
game
right?
for Jokic.
That's
I'm
crazy.
downgraded him. Trae Young passed him. He's no longer my. He was leading the league in assists,
Everything.
rebounds, and 3-point percentage.
Yeah.
Not leading the league in assists anymore. So get out of here, Jokic.
Well, and he's tanking his 3-point percentage, Keith, with these creating new ways to miss shots.
Did you?
Come on. Yes,
Can
of
you
course.
explain this shot for
Okay.
for the listener? This is an
Okay.
audio format.
Well,
Explain what
it
happened.
was like end of the third quarter against the Lakers the other night. There's zero point 0.3 seconds left on the clock, and Jokic realizes there's only zero point 0.3, and he was about to inbound the ball, and instead he had, was it Jamal Murray that was the inbounder?
I can't remember.
Okay, well,
I
anyway,
thought
he
maybe it was
tells him,
Michael Porter, but it doesn't matter.
maybe, it doesn't matter.
A
I can't remember off the
teammate
top of my head.
inbounds the ball. Yeah.
Inbounds the ball, and he tells him to kind of lob it to him, and then Jokic basically punches the ball 77.6 feet or something,
Yeah.
and he misses, he misses the rim
But like
by
what?
about 5 inches.
Yeah, I was going to say 8 inches, 5 inches. Sure. Whatever.
And
Um,
again, uh, just a hero for taking a shot anyway.
yeah.
But that's the next level. Like, who's even thinking
He,
that way?
I posted something on social media. A couple years ago. There was an end of quarter shot. I want to say it was left hand and he hit the rim from
Yeah.
like 80 feet. And I was like, that's one of the best shots I've ever seen in my whole life. And maybe some trolls replied with, he missed. Who cares? I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
I could work for the rest of my life and probably wouldn't be able to hit the rim from 80 feet with my offhand. And now we see this shot. I don't know how far I can even smack a basketball the way he smacked it.
It's absurd how far he was able to hit the ball. I
Not
don't
just, I
understand
mean,
how it
not
works.
just the fact that it was less than a foot away from going in.
Yes,
He
but it
knows there's
was
0.3 of a second left. This is Derek Fisher rule. There's not enough time to catch and shoot. He's like, just toss it at me. I'm going to bat it the whole length of the court.
but he didn't even really look like he hit it all that hard. And
Yeah.
really, like it just looks like it's nothing to him.
He just
It
knows where
was
the sweet
insane.
spot is on these Wilson basketballs.
Well, yeah, that's an absurd shot. Just an
Meanwhile,
absurd thought.
we have the field goal percentage merchants waiting for the buzzer to sound before they get their half court shots off.
Yeah.
Luke Kennard made one last week after the buzzer. Just get the shots up. But yeah, Jokic, I can't. It's
He's
the best.
absurd.
How do you hit it that far?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that hurt his 3-point percentage.
I mean, I don't look. Have you ever hit a basketball with a baseball bat?
No.
Like the dumb. Okay, well, I play a lot of sports
Yeah.
growing up, and you just do goofy stuff, right? Like it's like trying to
I
throw
feel
a
like
football
the
into
force would injure my ribs because I'm
Well,
not
right.
strong enough.
Yeah. Okay. So we used to do dumb stuff, like
Yeah.
you're playing horse with a football on a basketball court, right?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to hit a basketball hard like that.
Yep.
I don't know how he did it. How did he not hurt his wrist?
I don't know. I mean, I've watched that play a lot, and I'm just like, I don't know how did he do it?
It's amazing.
He's the
I need the
best.
phantom cam.
Sorry, y'all.
Also,
I need
you know what it
a
makes me
sports
think?
science on that play.
You know what it makes me think about?
What?
Our bias toward the made shot and whether it
Yeah.
becomes a good play, a good shot. You think about ball movement. when really the defense can sometimes be making the ball move, and the ball movement is it's just read and react, right? The defense is playing great defense, so you get this beautiful game looking half court offense, and if they miss, you say good defense, and if they make it, it's like oh there it is, that's the beautiful game. But think about all the amazing passes that we probably have never seen highlights of because the guy missed the shot.
Wasn't
That's
I?
what this
I
league needs.
feel like our buddy Kyle Mann was at one point creating a compilation of the best non-assists where guys
Yeah.
blew the finish. I don't know if
Yeah.
he ever finished that project. I don't remember ever
Well,
seeing
it's
it.
got to be impossible because, like, think about it. Like, the ones that we know, the
You have
guy
to
always finishes the play.
you have to rely on memory of
Right.
viewers. It's like
Yeah.
it's a crowdsourced. Hey guys, there's no way to search for this.
Yeah.
StatMuse doesn't have a show me the best missed shots after
Right.
passes. There's no way to
There's
search
no
for it.
photo of a guy holding up a photo of himself making a pass in a locker room, from the
So,
1600s.
so, so you're saying Paul George was right. The Damian Lillard game winner, series winner was a bad shot. So, but it would just went in.
Went in,
And that's why the
made it a good one.
Bucks traded for Damian Lillard. All right, the Bucks beat the Hornets, the Pacers, and the Bulls at
And the
home.
Hornets are frisky.
Hornets or something. Hornets in that game? LaMelo? He took
Crazy.
38 shots, which he had to. I mean, what are you going to
Yeah.
do? He
Yeah.
started the game 3 for 13. This is the best J.R. Smith, have confidence in yourself. I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for
Yeah.
10 because that means I quit shooting. The guy, LaMelo, had 40 points in the second half, finishes with 50 points and 10 assists.
He's my favorite player to watch right now.
He is just wild.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do.
I mean, him and Brandon Miller.
He's one-footed. He's still taking these one-footers, Keith. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Miller has been. I mean, Brandon Miller's favorite player is Paul George, right?
Yeah, he thinks he's the best player of all. That's his goat. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Brandon Miller might be better than Paul George right now.
You know?
Well, definitely today.
Yeah, if a basketball game was played right now, Paul George got hurt in the last week, hyperextended his knee. Yeah, Brandon Miller had a tremendous week, but the Bucks still up in the air, whether or not
Sure
they're going to be that good. But Giannis has been carrying them.
Right.
Finally, Gary Trent looked alive.
They weren't as bad as they looked.
Yeah.
Also, I'll tell you what, man. Taurean Prince has been rough. AJ Green,
he's been making his threes though.
But I don't know, man.
Taurean Prince is what he is.
AJ Green's defense has really been surprising. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Doc Rivers. I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Green snuck even more minutes and maybe that starting spot. But they were not as bad as they started, obviously.
Yeah. I think maybe we were a little early dumping the gravel, the dirt on their grave.
Yeah,
but also I think the pendulum saying they're back, despite the fact that they're sixth in the East right now.
Oh,
I think we're a little bit premature in being like they're fine. I still think they're pretty not very good.
Well, they're not a contender to me.
No. The fever pitch of Western Conference GMs and basketball presidents and such of this, hey, why do we have conferences again? This is ridiculous. There are 10 teams above 500 in the West, and there's 3 or 4, and there's 4 now. The Knicks are now above 500. But it's like the Trailblazers, who most people assume are just bad,
are good.
They're 7 and 10.
Yeah.
That would be 7th in the East. Well, I haven't updated the conference records.
But none of the East teams are going to vote for this. None of them.
Yeah.
How do you convince Keith? There's no track record in this country of people voting against their best interests.
That's why you have to have a single voice, an authoritarian voice to show people what needs to be done.
That's right.
That's what we need Adam Silver to do. And fix this conference imbalance. No, I still think, despite the Bucks getting Damian Lillard, if they were given the option to do it over, I think they just probably keep Drew Holiday
Yeah,
and
yeah.
keep those assets that they traded.
Yeah, Bucks fans get annoyed with me because I bring this up like once a month, but it is like a major sticking point in my brain. I mean, it not only did it take them out of contention, it put Boston
It
into
made the
this
Celtics.
crazy title window. And now
Yeah.
they didn't know the Boston part of it, but Drew Holiday
They could
is
have
a
connected some
I
dots.
just don't understand. And maybe it's just because my own internal bias toward defense, and not anti-offense, but I just think offense is not as hard to create as, people think it is. And Drew Holiday is also a very good offensive player. It's
I
not like
also, yeah, yeah. Sorry
like
to cut you off.
look at how Joe Mazzulla has him playing like a center half the time.
Yeah, he spends his time in the dunker spot.
Crazy.
I also keep going back to like another one of those dominoes was the Suns. Where like the
Yeah,
Suns, if they don't trade DeAndre Ayton, it doesn't make it possible for Drew Holiday to end. It doesn't make it possible for Damian Lillard to end up on the Bucks. Of course, that was in the
right.
trade, and then it doesn't make it possible for Drew Holiday to end up on the Celtics, and all those things I felt like made the Bucks and the Celtics better than the Suns. So it's like
Hmm.
this is your title. You're in your title window right now. Whoopsie. There's also, I feel like, some other maybe smaller moves that have
Yeah.
happened where I feel like teams might have. I don't know. You tell me, do teams regret these things yet? I see a couple of
Which
teams.
ones?
I see a couple of teams right now, Dave, that
Oh,
got rid of some players.
yes.
And you're thinking, do you not wish you had that player back? Let's talk about your guy, Tobias Harris.
Tobias
Do
Harris,
you
man.
think the 76ers could use a pretty good guy who shows up to work every single day and is great for your locker room?
Yeah, I almost did the miss me yet
Yeah.
meme with him. Because yeah, like imagine if he was still there. Just a steady 16 to 18 points a game. You're gonna get a stinker every 10,
He plays every game.
but he plays every game. Everybody seems to like
He's
him.
never going to draw a charge. He doesn't do that.
Good.
But he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Those are good to have.
Yeah, he's a good player.
I might
And
even call them, Dave, a win now player.
okay. He's a compete now player for sure. But if he's your fourth best guy, that's great.
It's great.
But he does show up to work every day.
So the Sixers are in a
I mean,
world of
think
hurt.
about what Tobias Harris and Gershon Yabusele could be doing together right
Oh,
now.
it'd be beautiful.
That'd be the starting front court.
I mean, it looks like everybody lost a step on the Sixers. Of course, Embiid is dealing with his own injury issues again. Max has come back. Jared McCain's a revelation. Jared McCain has been awesome this year. Going to win Rookie of the Year, I think already. We can.
Yeah.
Maybe it's early to stamp it, but he's easily the favorite. He's
getting the TikTok vote. So
right now, but the Sixers are 3-13. Kyle Lowry, Andre Drummond looked toast. Paul George has gotten injured again. Kelly Oubre, I hope they got that fake extension done in writing that's illegal, where like he signed a make good deal again for the Sixers to get the full bird rights. You assume they're going to pay him this upcoming year. Like Kelly Oubre's had a rough year. It just feels like that fan base was like, we got to get rid of Tobias Harris. I'm done with him. We got to get something better. I know. And it's like, man, you'd be a lot better. You had a Tobias Harris on your roster. No,
just I make a guy who can play.
I use the terminology win now because we made this joke about another player where I feel like this team might be missing this player. The Sacramento Kings are below 500.
That's right.
They have a worse record than the San Antonio Spurs. The Sacramento Kings got rid of Harrison Barnes because they needed a win now player. Mm-hmm. We made the joke where I'm like,
Harrison Barnes.
If Harrison Barnes is your fourth, fifth starter, you're doing pretty good.
That's amazing.
Meanwhile, the Spurs are like, yeah, we'd love to have a competent professional who shows up for work every day and is good at basketball. And meanwhile, the Spurs, who I was very agnostic about them all year. I assumed they were bad, but I'm like, I don't know. They had a great week.
Yeah.
Wembanyama missed some games.
Yeah.
Chris Paul has been really good for him. Harrison Barnes is playing well. And all of a sudden they're winning basketball games and they're sitting again 9-8. Meanwhile, the Kings, they paid to get rid of Harrison Barnes so they could bring in DeMar DeRozan. I'm personally upset that it's not working great yet because I thought it was a fun, aggressive move because I like DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
And some of it is just that a bounce here, a bounce there, made jumpers there. This is the fray. This is the Frosted Flakes fray, where every team's good and it's going to be shooting variants and just random games. But right now, it's like the Kings made these investments when it's like,
well, that drop off in defense, man, it makes a difference.
Yeah. And I know
and
Harrison
also
Barnes.
Think about just the role.
Yeah.
Right. Harrison Barnes was happy to be in the corner to crash the glass, and DeMar needs to touch the ball. And I'm not saying that that's causing them major problems. They are just, I do think a coin flip away from,
yeah,
you know what I mean, in a lot of these games from being having a better record at least. But yeah, Harrison Barnes, man, he can defend, he can rebound. It's all that stuff that doesn't necessarily, well, it's gotten him paid, but it doesn't necessarily get you, nobody's beating down your door to sign you.
You don't get all the adulation either for like,
even though those are some of the hardest things to do.
14 points a game and he hits threes. And again, that's like, I don't know. It's for me, it's a win now player, just a winning player.
14-9 with good defense is actually extremely valuable.
It's also one of those things where you can just having something you can depend on. Whether you're in a musical ensemble or you have a lot of things up in the air, if you're preparing a Thanksgiving dinner and you're like, man, I hope the oven doesn't crap out. I hope these ingredients gel together. But no matter what happens, that food's going to work out good.
The gravy's going to be good.
Yeah. No matter what happens, I know our drummer's great. I know the bass player's great. So we're not going to get off the road anywhere. So like having those guys, they're just floor racers. I feel like, and that's that's specifically what the Spurs needed. Just having guys who are like, there's no aberration here. I mean, yes, there's aberration. I'm not talking about like scoring aberration because Harrison's going to give you a 4-point game, a 2-point game, but he's going to do the right thing every time. Sometimes the shot goes in, sometimes it doesn't, but just having that, I don't know. It's a great benefit to have. Right now, the Spurs, I think, are definitely reaping the benefits of that. When it comes to Chris Paul, is there something just to the fact that he gets to do more than he did with the Warriors last year? It didn't seem that effective on the Warriors. Maybe he was the same effective level, and maybe I'm just too swayed by watching him basically win the game last week. But it's maybe with the ball in his hands more.
For sure.
It's all right, I can still do this at a certain level. You don't want to run me off the ball. I'm not here to guard other people. But if you need me to run the offense, guess what? I'm still super good at that.
I mean, I just think he understands the speed and pace of the game. He's clearly, I mean, he's in elite condition, right? He's in really good shape. He looks good. But also, there's a certain amount of playing with a player of his stature with his, he probably has a reputation around the league. Going to the Warriors and bringing the baggage of Chris Paul with him. And I'm not saying anything negative. I don't think Chris Paul's a bad guy, but on the court, a lot of people don't like him. And these guys are his contemporaries on the Warriors. Then he goes to the Spurs, this overwhelmingly young team. He's given the franchise seal of approval. Hey, we brought this guy in, the point god in for you guys to kind of learn under. And it just seems like, he's getting to be Obi-Wan to a certain degree, right? And him having the ball in his hands down the stretch, I think when you look at that team, that's who you want. It's him and Wemby. But let Chris Paul make those decisions, using all that experience and whatnot. But the fact that he's physically able to do it that's the only reason this is working. Let's not pretend like he's just some great teacher, coach on the floor, and he's just coaching everyone up. He's actually been really, really good. The numbers that he's putting up, he's not scoring 40, but the efficiency is there. And then when you watch these games, I mean, he looks as athletic as he did 5 years ago.
I hear you, but I still feel like the athleticism, of course, it is diminished. And maybe just my theory was just that the fact that he's doing the things he's the best at.
Yeah.
And because of that, it hides the fact that he's maybe a tenth of a second slow here and not as reacting quickly here. Of course, he's keeping himself in great condition. Yeah. I, of course, like any podcaster, am comparing his play to my own personal sports experience. I was thinking about this Frisbee league. There's this ultimate Frisbee variant called Goaltimate. It's like a half court sport. It's like a half court game.
This sounds like pickleball.
It's all about short throws and weird throws. There's less running because it's half court. You can still run a lot, but you can be an old guy and still be pretty good at it. And I hit a point in my career where I'm like, oh, you're asking me to run deep and like cut hard. And I'm like, I can't, I'm bad at that. I'm old. I'm slow. But if you just want to play Ultimate where I'm not the runner, I'm the guy just holding the Frisbee the whole time, guess what? Still really good because I can still throw it. I can still pass pretty good. And that's what I was seeing myself in Chris Paul being like, listen, you want me to run a pick and roll and hit a 16-footer with the shot clock running down? You want me to get it to our best players? You want me to hit Harrison Barnes in the shooting pocket? You want me to set up Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell for points? I can do that. Just don't ask me to chase a guy around a screen and such. So I don't know. That was your
Spurs have been good.
They have risen. They're not in the Frosted Flakes bunch yet, but maybe they should be.
I don't know.
I mean, 9-8 is impressive. I was starting to try to pick.
Crazy.
They are going to compete for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that I think that's a pretty big win. They have been boosted by their home record, I would say.
Yeah.
11 home games, they're 8-3 at home. 11 home games, 6 road games. So they're 1-5 on the road, 8-3 at home. So what happens when that schedule bounces out? That will probably be the answer to what is going to occur with them. Anyways, Dave, let's take a break and then we'll come back. Let's talk a little bit about Fred VanVleet. All right, Dave, we can call this steak and eggs best thing. Fred VanVleet got a little bit upset with some referees at the end of their loss to the Blazers. On Friday night, they blew the Blazers out. On Saturday night, they lost a close one to Portland. The Rockets, I mean, they're still, I think, very, very good. They lost close game last week to the Bucks and then to the Blazers at the end of the game where Fred VanVleet did not get the whistle. He got bumped while dribbling, threw up a 3-pointer, hoping to get a 3-shot foul. I think it was definitely a foul. It was not, it wouldn't have been a shooting foul, but still after the game, he lost it a little bit, went up to every ref, pointed at them, called them a name. The final ref he got to looks like he poked him in the face. And we're now 2 days later. The fact that the league hasn't announced anything yet, that's bad, right?
Has to be.
I saw this play, and again, I haven't seen an additional video.
Right.
Like to definitively see if he poked the referee in the face. The crowd, based on the clip I saw, the crowd in Houston gasps, which let me know, oh, he hit him. Like the way the home crowd reacted, I was like, oh no. So I know this is probably dropping later today. We're recording Monday before noon. I assume the news is coming out today. This is an unacceptable play by Fred VanVleet.
Oh yeah.
And this is something where I feel like the league would bring the hammer down unbelievably hard. Even if you want to argue he didn't mean to poke the guy in the face, and we already do have a precedent. I need to look up what did Kelly Oubre get for when he did that going in the HRS face and it's like you would be he did that, but like Kelly Oubre did it in a way that wasn't menacing physically.
Right.
Like there was no sensation that Kelly Oubre is running at me to hit me. He's clearly running. He's walking up to me to cuss at me. Fred VanVleet's, it was physically intimidating. And that's the point of what he did. He meant to physically intimidate the referee. And then even if you say he accidentally did it, he did physically intimidate and then touch the referee. I'm not going to be like, I don't know if Adam Silver has it in it in non-Ja Morant suspensions. But like physically, if you don't want to say assaulting, accosting a referee after the game because you're mad, that's like that's like a do not cross line that you cannot have in your sport.
Agree. Yeah.
And like I know fans are generally like Rockets fans seem to be in one of two camps. He's right, go get him, Fred, or I'm glad Fred's getting suspended. He's been killing us. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's the two feedbacks I see. The he's right camp, like, doesn't matter.
Doesn't
This is
matter.
if you think referees are bad now, wait till you let players assault the referees. That's why
Right.
people aren't reffing. There's a referee shortage in the world. There's a nursing shortage in the world because of our
Every
crazy laws.
okay.
If you defund the Department of
Yes,
Education and they
referees and
don't pay for
nurses.
people to become nurses anymore, we're gonna have
Yeah.
a bigger shortage.
Thank you for your
So
service, referees.
yeah, so I would think it would be 10 games. And
Oh yeah.
I think that's honestly a bare minimum. I don't feel like Adam Silver has shown he's going to do something like that, but I don't know.
What did Embiid got 3 games for shoving a
Embiid got
reporter?
3 for shoving a reporter. I would think you'd have to be so much more than that. Maybe there's video that shows there wasn't contact, and I guess that
Maybe.
would be a huge thing.
Hopefully.
If it's not contact, I think it would just be probably a game or two.
Yeah.
But that's like still like, what are we talking about? Is this was he Jokic batting a ball 80 feet 5 inches away? or
Yeah.
or like, because like what's the difference between 1 inch away from hitting him? The way the referee responded, it looked like an actual hit. This was not
Wow.
this was not a James Harden throw your head back or an
Imagine
Embiid.
the referee flopping to get Fred VanVleet suspended.
It would be just.
Yeah.
Did you by the way, unrelated, did you see Joel Embiid flop on a free throw?
Yes. A couple, actually.
Was he just
Um,
practicing?
I don't know what that
Muscle
is.
memory?
I wonder if it was like if he just doesn't feel like his jumper's there and
Yeah.
he's, it's more a reaction, to his own shot. I don't know.
What do you
Listen,
think would be a
here's my
just
thing. Can
about
we just
Fred?
for a second with Embiid
Oh, Embiid, yeah.
and the flopping?
Yeah.
For someone we're constantly saying, oh, let's wrap his whole body in a cast so he doesn't hurt himself. You would think at some point he'd stop slamming himself on the ground on purpose.
I feel like I've been over this so
I
many
mean,
times with people. I
my
agree.
God, man. The tripping yourself over a guy you shoved on the ground
Hey,
is a
so
next level. I
the
mean, and
the
then
Embiid
he got
haters,
banged up on it. I just don't understand.
the
Just be a
Embiid
good basketball
haters
player.
were out in full force over this play where he trips over Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is laying on the ground. Embiid, like a homing beacon, veers into Jaren. Listen, I hate to say it, it's a good play. Laying on the ground is not legal guarding position. As long as you can trip and not hurt anybody, you made the good play. Guys laying on the ground, cool. Dribble over to him. I know, but he kind of banged himself up. Yeah. It's a tough look.
Look, man. Look, the way I was taught is that if a guy goes down, that's an opportunity to score, not an opportunity to go to the free throw line.
He's an amazing free throw shooter. That's free points.
I also,
Jaren, the other team's best player, in foul trouble. It's a smart play.
If I ran
hate
the
it,
NBA,
I have to defend it.
I would take free throws away from players. They would go to the team. They would be a team point.
Oh, interesting.
Also, the scoring title should not include free throws. I'm tired of that.
Wow, I hadn't thought of this one.
Yeah, because you're not scoring; they're free, buddy.
But what if you're chasing someone in the scoring title and your team just fouls that guy on purpose? So
Yeah,
you can.
there you go. Do it.
I think there might be some unintended consequences.
Nobody calls a free throw a bucket, and yet
what
nobody's like, oh yeah, that free throw, that guy, Mark Price, he's a bucket because he's a 94%.
Mark Price was a bucket.
Yeah.
What do you think is the just punishment for Fred VanVleet?
I mean, honestly, I think 10 games is where you start if he hit him in the face.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What did Oubre get for his? I was trying to find it and I couldn't find anything. But
and this is like trying to find the missed shot highlights.
It's hard. Because I think like you can't do that. You guys work together. You know what I mean? Like referees and players, you work together. And so you can't act like that to your colleagues at work. Like there is a line, right? So I think whether you hit him or not, he's going to get a game or two.
Kelly Oubre was only fined 50 grand.
Okay, then all right. So there's our minimum.
Would you like to know what Google search I used to find it?
No clue. What is it?
Oubre, you're a bitch. Find. First result. Google still works sometimes. Um, yeah, I would think it would be 10 games if there's contact.
Yeah.
And if there's not contact, I would still feel like I don't know if he has precedent to do this, but I would feel like the Embiid thing would be 3, would still be
Right.
appropriate. He physically tried to intimidate the referee, which like in my mind, you can't do it. That's a line you're not supposed to cross.
I don't know. I just don't get it. I mean, I understand him being mad, and he was right, but he's just been in
he
the
was
league
right,
too
but
long.
also it wasn't the situation where it was like this is the game-winning moment. For
Right.
me, what do I always talk about? He played referee roulette.
Yep.
Sometimes you get the call, sometimes you don't. Your other option was to play basketball. He didn't play basketball. He felt a bump, decided to try to accentuate it, try to launch a 25-footer, and they didn't go for it. And that's referee roulette. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. In the last week, Dave, not only were the Spurs undefeated, not only were the Bucks undefeated, the Celtics, of course, took care of business. The Celtics handed the Cavaliers their first loss, stayed alive in the NBA Cup. What'd you think of the Cavaliers having their perfect record besmirched by the defending champs?
That was actually, I thought it was a great game.
Yes.
Those two teams are head and shoulders above everybody else in the East. And I still, obviously, the Celtics are better. Porzingis, by the way, coming back tonight.
Yes.
That game was Missoula ball. Everyone's going to talk about Missoula ball, but nobody's going to talk about the way that the Celtics play defense in that game down the stretch. They were able to take away so much stuff from the Cavs. And this is where, over the course of the season, I think we're going to figure out, what are the Cavs' go-tos when someone turns the water off?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they responded pretty well. They came back from a big deficit, which you always want to see. But it was that game or the Nuggets game a few weeks back, probably the two best games of the year so far.
I was happy to see the Cavs bounce back in that game. That was atypical. Like the first half was kind of like, oh wow, we haven't played anyone this good. His team is way better than everybody else. And to see the Cavaliers actually bounce back, it was cool to see. Also, they were missing all their wings, basically.
Nobody. Yeah.
No, Karis LeVert wasn't there. Max Strus hasn't been there. Even Darius Garland had a bad game. More on that in the awards segment on the program. So to make it a close game, that was cool to see. The Heat only played twice last week. They also went undefeated. 2-0.
They had 6 days off.
They had so many days off.
How did they get 6 days? They got an All-Star break in November.
We got to watch NBA Cup related. Also, the Suns had like 6. They're in the midst of 6 days off, but maybe Durant's coming back.
I think Durant's coming back tomorrow. All the social media stuff, they've started using him in the videos. And
did you see Jimmy Butler's hair?
I did.
He dyed his braids, lots of them red. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Butler, after 5 days off, looked incredible again. The Heat are back.
Yeah.
Going back to who do you turn to when you're the Cavaliers when like the screws get tightened?
Yeah.
Is it just Ty Jerome? Just clear out.
What a season this guy.
I mean, I don't know where the most improved player list starts, and I don't like doing the guys who become all-stars. That's too boring. I'm always more interested in the fact that like, hey, Ty Jerome's good now. Scottie Pippen Jr. is good now. These are my most improved. Scottie Pippen got 30 points and 10 assists playing under his dad's retired jersey.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Didn't he do it? It was like what was it, 85% shooting or something?
He was 13 for 16 from the field.
The last player to have done that.
Yeah. The cherry pick stat was the last player before Scottie Pippen Jr. to have at least 25 points, 8 assists, and shoot 80% or better in the United Center was his dad, Scottie Pippen Sr. I like the most improved players that are just like, oh, this guy's kind of great. I mean, maybe Franz Wagner would count too, because like Franz keeps being amazing.
No.
Doesn't count for you.
No,
He was already good.
because he was good, then he was bad, then he's just good again.
What about the Norm Powell leading? Norm's even been
Norm
out.
Powell, you know what, man? Norm Powell has been this good for a while. Norm Powell has
He's got
just
the
been buried
opportunity.
on the Clippers, man. Like Norm Powell is a real legit two guard that you could put the ball in his hands. Like it's funny to me that people. This is why I was higher on the Clippers than everybody else, because I actually have watched a lot of Clippers and they've got good players. Like and Norm
Yeah.
Powell is a nice little like second banana to James Harden actually.
Yeah, the Clippers also went undefeated in the last week. They're playing so well. I mean, yes, they got to
Yeah,
play the Sixers. Nice little revenge game. The James Harden, Paul George didn't show up. Of course, could
yeah,
not play. Sixers get destroyed in that game. I'm actually going to tonight. Speaking of like marquee matchups that we're not going to get due to injury, we have the Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan showdown. Neither player participating, so feel free to skip Trailblazers Grizzlies tonight. Although it's the return of John Morant.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
I guess he's a little
Is
bit
this
popular.
comeback week? I guess
I hope
Middleton
so.
might come back.
Middleton. All right. We've talked so much Bucks, but like Shams put out the report that clearly someone in the Bucks front office wanted out there to
Yeah,
pressure Chris Middleton into playing. Um, the way Shams phrased it confused me. It was like Chris Middleton has been cleared for a period of time. And I was like, oh, like just
yeah,
he's just been made available for a narrow window?
yeah.
Like what? That doesn't
He
mean
got an opening in his schedule
yeah, he
too.
had an opening
Yeah,
and he's like, he can play. And then it was like, oh, you mean for a while now, they
yeah.
told him, hey, brother, you're healthy. You can play and
To be fair, Keith,
double ankle, man.
double ankle surgery. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm supposed to feel comfortable like running and
Yeah.
jumping after double ankle surgery. I, I don't. Again, man. Just because sports science has advanced doesn't necessarily mean we should be putting people's bodies through this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, not to be all ethical about our
Sure.
sports here, but like, I actually it's like Embiid with the knee, man. Who am I to tell this guy that he needs to man up? I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, I would love if he took into consideration that his body is prone to break down when he's thinking about like what he does, outside, the gym, right? Like
Right.
what are you putting into your body? Be in better shape, be thinner, especially because you got bad knees. But like, I don't. He clearly has a medical issue, right? Like, I just think I don't have a problem with Chris Middleton saying, you know what, coming off double ankle surgery, knowing how long the season is, let me make sure I'm just good before I come back so I don't have to do this in and out of the lineup thing. I mean, Chris Middleton's also a rhythm player. He doesn't want, like, he's better a month in than he is going to be like the first 10 days. But if he misses time after a month, that's going to be detrimental for him. Like, it takes him a while to spin up. So, I don't know. I hope he's going to actually come back tomorrow. And I hope he looks good because if he looks bad, I think this looks bad on the organization because everybody knows how this is working, right? He's getting internal pressure. Come on.
Yeah. It's a tough situation. When you were talking about like, obviously Embiid maybe take
Yeah.
some time to get healthy, but
Yeah.
the problem with the league right now, and the reason they put in, I mean, one of the reasons they put in the player participation policy is it just seems like maybe it's because the game is so sped up and
Right.
we're putting more damage on these players physically. Maybe it's other things. Maybe the players teams have gotten okay with being like, listen, we're trying to win a championship.
Right.
Don't play the second out of a
Well,
back
the
to back.
public has gotten okay with it.
The public's gotten okay with it, but what option does the public have? This is what we're
Right.
given. It's like I was thinking, should there not be some kind of, should there be a sports company that like insures your tickets, like
I think
travel
that exists.
insurance,
I feel like that
where they're like,
exists.
hey, American Express, you bought tickets to see so and so. If one of the top 8 players based on Instagram followers doesn't suit up, you can trade in your tickets. I truly feel like, I know this would never happen,
Yeah.
but NBA teams have gone to surge pricing or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, where
Right.
the marquee matchups cost more. It's no longer every game is this chunk divided by 41 home games, but players don't play
Right.
And it's like, oh, you paid for the Warrior tickets tonight. Steph's not playing. And it's like, I feel like teams should somehow, especially teams that are tanking, like
Yeah.
you should be reloading the team
Well,
credit for your season ticket holders. Like you shouldn't charge full price for these things. Of course, it's like a dream world
there's
where
some
the
interesting things happening right now, Keith, if you pay attention. Steve Kerr was talking the other day about the length of the season.
Mhm.
Other people have been talking about the length of the season. And Steve Kerr made a good point about the pace. You know, their pace in 2015, 2016 was far and away the fastest pace in history or something like that. And now it would be like in the 20s.
yeah.
That's legit. The game, there's just too many games. And I think that if I'm the NBA and you look at what they're doing with the NBA Cup and how hard they're leaning in, there is a way to just change the format of the season and
Yeah.
you don't lose all that much. And the NBA Cup is that opportunity, in my opinion. You could take regular season starts on Christmas Day and just use the first 2 months to spin up and use it as cup play. Hey, it, the games are more sporadic, but we have cup nights, and everyone knows they're playing twice a week. Fans are going to tune in. It's going to be appointment programming. And you just do those games sort of as your preseason. You culminate with the tournament, and then you
Yeah.
kick off on Christmas. And it's fewer games, it's less wear and tear, especially at the beginning of the season. And then you have a shorter season that's more meaningful. The WNBA just had an amazing season that came. I mean, and then their playoffs were fantastic. And I think part of it was because the season's short. The games matter so much more. It's like college basketball. You lose a couple of games, all of a sudden, whoa,
But
my
college,
tournament
but
chances matter.
college basketball and college football are killing this because they're
Right,
they're expanding their playoffs. They keep expanding the
yes,
tournament field. They're like,
right,
this is no longer. That was the whole point. The whole
right.
point of college football was you
It's
can't
hard to
lose
get in.
your second game because then you're
Yeah,
done. Basically, I like the theory of starting the season with the NBA Cup. Like having a tournament that starts
yeah.
your year seems fine. I would be in
And it takes
favor.
away the confusion of the cup where people are
I
like,
would
oh,
I
I
would
don't
be
know
in
what's happening.
favor of them expanding that so you have
Yeah,
more group play games. I've been over this. I love the NBA Cup just because I love tournaments.
right.
I love tournaments in every sport. If you have a tournament, I'm in. And like
Yes.
I'm distraught that the Grizzlies are the worst team in the history of the NBA Cup. It's like it's just something fun. It's something
It
fun.
is. It's
And
great.
you've gotten smoked every time you play. And it's like now we're out. I
Again,
wanted it. I want my favorite team to go to Las Vegas. I
yeah,
want them to be on national television. I want them to be the subject of conversation.
yeah,
And I don't get that because they lost. And so like I like tournaments. I like your idea, but anything that makes the league one easier to follow.
right.
I've said it many times, standardizing the schedule would be huge for fantasy basketball. If every team played twice a week, fantasy basketball would be a much bigger deal because it will be way less confusing. And I don't know. I still don't think they're going to do anything. I
No,
mean,
of course not. Well, maybe though.
it feels like with the death of the regional networks, where it's like teams are now losing money slash they're not making nearly the amount of money they were making. This
Yeah,
is our chance to reset. This is our chance to fix stuff. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for things that huge to get
yeah.
things in
To
motion.
change.
They
And I mean,
are,
the thing is,
but Dave, sorry, go ahead. Then
yeah. No,
I'll,
I was gonna say there is a way to just do it where you don't actually lose the revenue. And the revenue is king here. That's what people care about. But I think the TV packages would go up a little bit. Like there's a way that people would just see more of these games, man. I mean, and especially when you consider the competitiveness in these games, where regardless of whether people want to admit it or not, these NBA Cup games, they're going harder.
legitimately, maybe the tiniest best thing about them, unrelated to whether or not maybe you want to debate whether or not players are trying harder. They are playing to the final whistle, and
That's
that part's
right.
fun.
Yeah.
Where they're scoring on last possessions, like that part's amazing, and I kind of wish we had that all the time.
Yeah.
Um.
Write a new
Oh,
code book.
I was thinking of yeah, no more breaking the code. I was thinking of you brought this up, Dave. You'd been asking for this, like you wanted to fix. They heard your cries, and they're trying to fix the All Star game. I don't let's
It's
put
a bet.
the
It's
let's
better.
no, let's put the timer at 30 seconds. We each get 30 seconds.
How would I
I
fix it?
I hate it. It's not a basketball game. Anything
Right.
that has to be explained is much worse. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I don't know why they don't just make it a 3-on-3 tournament.
All right, fine.
Way more fun. Way
Just
more
make it a
fun.
basketball game.
Mic them all up. Do a 3-on-3 tournament
Mic them up.
over the course of a weekend, and it culminates with a tournament on the Sunday.
All
Single
right.
elimination, right? Be fun.
We ran out of time. Let's take a break and then we'll come back and answer a listener submitted question.
Any questions?
All right, Dave, it is now time for the croissant questioner. Miles M asks, is Jokic versus Embiid really just the new age CP3 versus Deron Williams? Darren Williams.
I thought, okay. Because to me, it's like more like Kareem and Wilt.
I wasn't alive for Kareem and Wilt.
And me either. But, it's more like that. Because Embiid was good. I mean, Embiid was an MVP. Embiid was playing like an MVP at the beginning of last year. And I'm not going to say I think he's physically cooked.
But
I just don't know. You mean
Darren Williams was really good.
Yeah, but he was not nearly to the level that Embiid is. Right?
That's fair.
And I think the gap is so much.
Although, yes, Jokic, I don't know, because
I think the gap is less.
So here's where I see the comparison.
Like, was Chris Paul ever the best player in the league?
No, but I feel like he was first team All NBA. Okay. And I think there was a thought where like, all right,
Williams
this is the best. This is the point guard. This is like the true point guard debate is which one of these guys is actually the best. And I think it was a legitimate conversation. And yes, Embiid and Jokic better overall players, but legitimate argument back and forth for several years.
Yeah.
I think the comparison would be that like, or the way that the comparison works is in 8 years, could you imagine that like Embiid's been out of the league for 5 years?
Right.
And like Jokic is still playing and Jokic is still incredible.
100%. I can see that. Yes. Yes. But I do think like at their peak, Embiid and Jokic is closer than Darren Williams and Chris Paul.
So I'm seeing Darren Williams was second team All NBA twice, was 9th in the MVP vote in 2010. But like, but like he was so good and his teams were so good. And then he like crossed Jerry Sloan and he like screwed up that whole thing. And then, he fell off a cliff pretty fast. Maybe cliff's too strong, but he became just a guy pretty quickly. I see the comparison. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of it is up to like, where does Embiid go from here? If Embiid, like, I would assume he's going to make a couple more All-Star games. You assume his health's going to get back, but also
I'm not assuming that at all.
He's not making any more. His All NBA resume is going to be done in 20 years when basketball historians are looking at like who has the most All NBA teams because of the 65 game rule. He doesn't get any more. By the way, I hate the 65 game rule.
It's dumb.
I hate it.
CJ McCollum.
What about him?
His fault. No, I'm just
kidding. Oh, the player. Yeah.
It's his fault. No.
Like Ja Morant's never going to play 65 games. But like if Ja Morant can play 62 games and the Grizzlies are like a top 4 seed theoretically, and he averages 28 points a game, it's like he can't be third team All NBA.
Nope.
Seems dumb. All right. Next question. Caleb McNeese asks, this is a Grizzlies question. How soon until Jake LaRavia is worth a first round pick?
What? Who thinks like this?
Grizzlies fans, man.
Jake LaRavia is hooping.
Jake LaRavia is playing great.
Yeah. Why would you want to trade him?
Well, I'll tell you, because the Grizzlies declined his 4th year option.
Oh,
so he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. But I'm going to answer this question, Caleb, but I'll confess it makes me a little bit sad. Not that sad, because Caleb is a Patreon supporter.
Sure. Right. That's right.
Caleb, you're paying money, so you're doing the most you can do. But it makes me a tiny bit sad because I know that means he hasn't been listening to my Grizzlies show, even though he's a Grizzlies fan. Because Jake LaRavia lost trade value when they declined that fourth year player
Yep.
option because anyone who wants to trade for him wants to keep him.
Sign him.
Yeah, you can't sign him now. He's maxed out. You can only offer him a max of $5 million next year in free agency. So even if Jake LaRavia finished this year doing what he did for the last month, which is like averaging 10 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, a block, and a steal, and making 45% of his threes, whoever gets him wants to keep him, wants to sign him. You can no longer sign him if you're the team that trades for him. So, Caleb,
he'll be never salary throw in if he gets moved this year.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So no one is going to give a first round pick for Jake LaRavia, even if he got twice as good. If he started averaging 20 and 10, you're not going to trade a pick for him because you can't keep him.
They're gonna re-sign him this summer, Keith.
They're going to trick him to stay for less.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. If he isn't worth more than that, do you want him? That was my take on why'd you decline his fourth year option. But Caleb, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. It's okay if you're not listening to all my Grizzlies shows. Anyways, if you guys out there want to have your question answered on air and to be playfully made fun of possibly when we do so, you can do all that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Not only do you get your question answered on the show or on the bonus episode, you can also get involved with our listener Slack channel. Do all that. Patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast, Dave. All right. The movers and shakers in the unnamed secretly breakfast themed power poll. The Spurs obviously did a thing, I think, despite the fact that they're winning home games, winning the games without Wemby. All right. We've taken notice. Now let's see, like, how legit are you? I think, like you said earlier in the show, that the Cavaliers and the Celtics, I think they're head and shoulders. How are you feeling about the Thunder right now? They got Hartenstein back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still feel great about the Thunder. I think even like that run with no centers was eye-opening and should have been for a lot of people because I mean, we saw a lot of that last year. They looked better this year with no centers. I think Jalen Williams and what he was doing defensively is kind of insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel really good about the Thunder. Obviously the Chet is a question mark. I don't think anyone should consider Chet coming back and being like full strength. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even thinking that way, but I like him with Hartenstein. I think like the pieces fit really, really well. If Caruso's not going to miss much time, which I think he's probably not, then I don't think they're going to have any drop off.
So they were one of the teams that lost to the Spurs this week. They lost I believe that was the Cup game. They lost to the Mavericks. The Mavericks, by the way, winning some games without Luka, man.
Things just seem so clear, and they play with so much pace when Luka's not on the court. Just something to watch.
So my cinnamon toast crunch upper crust. I'll say Celtics, Cavs, Thunder. Who's the fourth best team right now, Dave? The teams, I don't know what to do with this next tier. Do they all become just the Frosted Flakes fray of like 15 squads?
Oh,
the
you
Suns,
don't trust the Warriors?
I still don't. I don't. I think the Warriors are. I have the Warriors as maybe like when I do my own thing. I have the Warriors at fifth, but I don't know if they're meaningfully different or better than like the Mavericks, who have a much worse record, or like the Knicks, who have a much worse record. The Suns, they've lost 5 straight games. I thought they'd be able to survive no Durant this season. They not at all. Of course, Bradley Beal's been out too, but still losing 5 straight is not something I anticipated coming from this roster. So who's the fourth best team? And I guess we're picking between like the Lakers, the Rockets, the Mavs, the Knicks, the Warriors, the Suns, and the Nuggets. Anybody else we're considering?
I go Warriors, I think, or Nuggets.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets is purely because, Jokic is Jokic.
Yeah.
That game Friday with the Mavs and Nuggets was also one of the best games this year.
Yeah, I think I have the Nuggets fourth, which is like a big bounce back from me being like They lost their first 2 games of the year. They went to overtime against bad teams. Although the Nets have turned out to be nice and
Pretty
frisky.
good.
So all right, I think that's where I have it. Um, Going down this tier, the one team that has really, I think, struggled is the Timberwolves in the last week. I don't know if it's just
Yeah.
that Mike Conley missed some games and they don't have anything behind Conley.
Yeah.
They
They've
also
got some
had all
big
time
problems.
vibes moments. Gobert doing the 3 seconds on purpose. I remember Kevin Love doing that several years ago. Like, you're not going to throw me the ball. I'm just standing in the lane. Like, kick off for 3 seconds. And then Julius Randle was whipping passes at Gobert. So what's our temperature of the Minnesota Timberwolves right now?
Uh, I would say this. Julius Randle is catching it from a bunch of different people. His defense is awful,
Mm-hmm.
and Anthony Edwards lets him know about it every time.
Yeah.
They need to make a lineup change. I think, unfortunately, they look so much better without Conley out there. It might be time to pull the plug on that.
Well, I mean, you're not going to euthanize him. I mean, what do you
No,
what are
bring
you
him
going
off
to
the
do?
bench. I think he's got to come off the bench. They can't afford to get off to slow starts. He's picked on constantly by other teams,
Yeah.
on the defensive end. And maybe getting him minutes against bench units can get him going.
Yeah.
But he's kind of stopped shooting too.
So I think the Timberwolves they got some issues, but I don't know if it's like, can we go the Tibbs role of like just, hey, let's play DiVincenzo 42 minutes. Like I'm not sure what the options are for them. Moving down the standings
I
and
mean,
moving down.
they blew the Celtics game yesterday.
Yeah,
So they had the ball with like 8 seconds left and took a timeout. And it makes no sense. They had actually been doing pretty well in transition. I would much rather face the Celtics in transition to give them a timeout
right.
and let Joe Mazzulla get them organized. And then they basically they give the ball to Ant on the inbound, and he has to drive and kick. There's no play there, and people
Yeah,
are like, "Oh, they got a good look that didn't even get off in time."
right, right.
Celtics made them number one. They stonewalled Anthony Edwards out on the wing and killed time on his drive, and then they forced 2 passes. So they blew the end of that game. And I think, like, if you're the coaching staff, you gotta understand you've got the ball and you're more dangerous in transition with Anthony Edwards than you are on an inbound.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they're. I mean, I guess the Toronto loss is the one that really sticks out as being terrible. Um, they haven't won in Toronto.
20 games.
Yeah, since 2004. This is like a
Insane.
streak where I'm like, I never knew about this.
How does it makes no sense?
What an amazing streak. There is even geographically not that far. It's like,
No.
what's the big deal? Oh man, that's a wild number. No, moving down the power rankings, the one thing I will say that makes me pleased about like the last week. I mean, yeah, there was some like regression that we probably knew was going to happen. Not for like the 76ers, but the bad teams are just winning some basketball games. That always makes me smile. The Jazz, they beat the Knicks. They now won 2 in a row at home. So the Jazz, they're bad, not bad without honor. Only the Wizards are bad without honor. Like the Jazz, they're bad, but like the Hornets, the Trailblazers, the Nets, like the Pistons, the Bulls, the Hawks, all these teams with like, 6 or 7 wins. That's good stuff, man. This is my dream.
Mm-hmm.
If the NBA did not reward losing, if we didn't have these incentives to lose games on purpose at the end of the year, your standings everybody would be between like 30 and 50 wins.
Yeah.
Because there's enough talent.
And
These teams are talented.
You'd have to be great to get to
Yeah.
60.
I mean, like still maybe the Cavs, the Celtics, the teams in the Eastern Conference,
Yeah.
you're still, the good team's going to win 55-60, but like you're going to see this where like all these teams are clumped between 34 and 44 wins because there really truly isn't that much difference between the talent levels of these teams when they all go hard. Yes, we're saying some teams are clearly worse than others, but like, especially with the 3-point game, if the Hawks go out and make a bunch of threes, they're going to beat you. And if same with the Trailblazers, same with that, that's what the Bulls are doing this year. So I'm liking this, whatever, this surge of mediocrity,
Yeah.
that gets my stamp of approval. I'm happy to see it. The only teams where the record doesn't make sense, we can hit on this. It's like, what do you do with the 76ers? And what do you do with the Pelicans? The Pelicans are getting DeJounte Murray back. I believe on Wednesday is the report. He's expected back. CJ McCollum is, I think, expected soon after. Jordan Hawkins at least came back last game. I'm going to have to find some new options for my negative fantasy team. I've been writing Brandon Boston pretty hard. He's about to lose his minutes. But like the Pelicans and 76ers, two teams, I mean, one more marquee, but those are two teams with playoff expectations. The 76ers have the luxury of being in the East. The Pelicans do not. How do you even, like, I don't know, maybe it's fruitless to try to rank them, but it's like,
they're the two teams.
What are these teams? What do we do with
the
them?
year?
Yeah.
Coming into the year, they're the two teams that every single time you talked about them, you got to say, if they're healthy,
yeah,
if they're healthy, if they're healthy, if they're healthy. And we've been doing this with these teams for years. The Pelicans in particular, man, that's kind of a mess. And it just goes to show, I mean, there's good coverage of that team, but no one cares about the Pelicans.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, I almost forgot the award segment of the program. Let's do this real quick.
Oh,
let's end the show. It's now time for the award segment of the program, the International Stackhouse of Pancakes, given each week to the worst performance in a box score. We have a few honorable mentions. Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bain, 1 for 10. Lou Dort, 2 for 12. Dyson Daniels and Jalen Green, 3 for 14. Mikal Bridges, 3 for 15. Jamal Murray, 4 for 16. We have 4 nominees, although, frankly, this is one person's award that they're going to get this week, and that person is Darius Garland. Yeah. Darius Garland in the loss to the Celtics was 3 for 21. 3 for 21, Dave. 8 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 personal fouls, 2 turnovers, 0 personal fouls. Perhaps try. Bogdan Bogdanovic, he was 2 for 14 in a loss to the Warriors. 6 points, 7 rebounds, 5 turnovers. That's a lot. Wow. 5 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. I mean, Bogdan, 2 for 14, 5 turnovers, doesn't even get it. Sorry. Spencer Dinwiddie in the Mavericks overtime loss to the colorfully attired Jimmy Butler was 1 for 12, 7.7 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, 0 turnovers, 4 personal fouls. And then our 4th nominee, Georges Niang, in a win against the Raptors on Sunday, was 1 for 13. 2 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 3 personal fouls. I mean, normally a 2 for 14, a 1 for 12 with, a bunch of turnovers, a 1 for 13 would get it. But Darius Garland, take a bow, man. In the 3-point era, Garland's 3 for 21 tied for the 13th worst field goal percentage for any player attempting at least 20 field goals. So good job, buddy. Proud of you. Maybe the best NBA player from Nashville. Congratulations on winning this week's International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award. By the way, Dave, Drew Holiday has the worst field goal percentage in the 3-point era for any game with 20 attempts. He was 2 for 24, 8% back in 2013. And with that, I say, good job, Dave. Pleasure as always talking with you. Listeners, you guys are the best. Thanks for listening. If you want to support this program, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Yeah, never apologize for being G&G. Fast break, man. You understand? I will remember.